Hey everybody, this is Andy Hall. Before we start talking about nuclear rockets, nuclear rockets, right? LGBTQ flags in Pennsylvania and Donald J. Trump's plan for the future. Let's start off with something a little humorous. A little humorous.
I can't believe I've been here for 2 weeks and haven't got engaged.
No, seriously, how do you change a tire? Where are all the chicks who need an MRS degree?
I never spell or say Yahweh. I mean, I'm like part Calvinist, part Arminian.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play worship music in front of a group of single chicks right now.
I'm failing New Testament survey right now.
Dude, I hate chapel. I don't want to be with a woman who doesn't split the bill.
I'm just trying to be a youth pastor when I graduate.
Yeah, let me get a Jesus fish, a Trinity symbol, and a wave right here. Say I won't climb this, I promise you.
I've never been to Bible college, but it struck me, it resonated with me. I felt that there is some truth in those jokes. Hey everyone, good morning. Second cup of coffee. I got up late again. Maybe it's just getting a good night's sleep. You know, I'm not used to getting good night's sleep, like sleeping for a full 7 or 8 hours. And so this is what happens when I've only been up for like maybe an hour and a half, is that I'm still kind of, the second cup of coffee hasn't really hit. I'm still half awake, half asleep. But let's get on to everyone in the chat. Everyone in the chat, hello, good morning. It's Thursday, followed hopefully by Friday and then the weekend. Let's see what's going on. Woolly Ignorant. Good morning, Tobin Devilman. Pleasure to see you, sir. Blazing. Oh, Jess. Good. Blazing. Robert X. There we go. All right. So, I am also a bit groggy despite it being 3 p.m. Well, it's funny you should say that, Blazing. I think around 1 o'clock in the afternoon or so for me is more or less my groggy time, right? I kind of peak in the morning and then I have this trough. And this is actually normal. If you look at the majority of our people's rhythms during the day, morning spike, there's a little trough in the early afternoon, and then we pick up into the evening. Typically, that's for a majority of us. That's why, and here's a little hack. This is a little life tip here. That in case you're ever getting a medical procedure done, you should schedule it in the morning. That is when people are most mentally awake. I have a book here somewhere that goes over the data about people's natural waking rhythms. But if you have a medical procedure, then schedule it in the morning. It's more likely to go well for you. Greetings, Derek, Brainbug. All right. So what's the question for today? I was going to start off with my current beef about Facebook, but you know what? I'm going to put a pin on that, and I'm going to get to that after the question, actually. So I woke up this morning and I had a come to Jesus moment in terms of my diet. I ate way too much bread yesterday, and I'm at the point in my life. You see, I don't eat a lot of white bread under normal circumstances, but I gorged on white bread. It's probably one of the reasons why I feel somewhat hungover this morning from white bread. Is that what happens when you're off of white bread for a while, and then suddenly you just have a ton of white bread? Like, it was really good crunchy bread too, from the local restaurant. And I am just like more fuzzier in my brain than I usually am. And so maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only person in the world who's ever overdosed on bread, on white bread in particularly. But I don't think I am. I think that if you are off of white bread for a while and then you take a lot of it in, you're because it's so bad for you, right? It's so bad for you. You just kind of like, oh. And you know what? And I'm going to tell you this about me bottoming out on this. I woke up this morning and there were still pieces of white bread from the leftovers from last night's dinner, from our takeout, and I had that too. I just had like more white bread, which just increased the addictive cycle. So, as anyone who knows me knows that I have a very, what we call in the addiction business, I have a high bottom. So that there are some people with low bottoms. There's some people who they don't really start changing their behavior until things are bad. things are bad. I am not that person, thanks to my anxiety. So this recent gorging of white bread has really, I think I've hit my bottom, my high bottom, so that I'm going to be avoiding that for quite a while, because it just makes me feel like crap. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good while you're eating it, but afterwards you're like in a clear addiction cycle. So I'm going to try to break the cycle. That's what I'm going to try to do. So that's my question for this morning. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. I haven't had breakfast yet, and it sounds delicious. It really is, Tobin. It really is delicious. We're out of my normal margarine, so I had like the real butter put on the white bread too. This wonderfully crusty, it's good white bread. It wasn't just the crap bread, but it was good with the butter on it. It's like, oh my God. I'm like, literally, as I'm putting the butter on the bread, I'm going, I can't do this. This is not a sustainable strategy for me. Don't do crack bread. Mike Lindell, indeed. Oh, Blazing, yes. There's this movie that my favorite vampire movie of all time is called The Addiction. And Christopher Walken does a walk-on for about 10 minutes. And he's like the Zen Buddhist vampire. And he talks about being addicted to blood, but about being only taking small amounts, taking what you need. Of course, it's a metaphor for sin. And it's like, so if you only take a little bit, that's the secret. It's an exceptional movie, very philosophical, black and white movie from the 90s. It's called The Addiction. But I've talked about it before. Let's get on. Am I going to talk about my beef with Facebook? Yeah, just to let you know what I do when I'm not doing this, when I'm not doing the blog. I ran into this kind of star chamber, this kind of Kafka-esque kind of experience. I run a Facebook group, Atheist Comedy Burrito. So it's got over 5,000. It's got like 5,200, members in it. And the thing is, I keep a tight rein on that group. I individually vet every single person who comes into the group, and then I approve every single post in the group, because I don't want to get it banned. I don't want to get it disabled, as many other atheist groups have just disappeared. So this is what I saw when I logged onto Facebook today. Admin violations is one piece of content removed from Atheist Comedy Burrito, basically. And I'm going, wow, I wonder what I approved that went against, the policies. I thought about that, right? That's logical, because in any functional system, you let the person know what they did wrong so that it doesn't happen again. But Facebook, however, it doesn't do that. So I clicked on the See Details button, thinking I'd get some more information. Oh, I got some more information. It wasn't useful at all. That post goes against, I approved a post that goes against the community standards. And so I clicked. Yeah, and the thing is, we were unable to show the content that goes against our community standards. So that means there was an issue about community standards, but they can't tell me what that issue is. They can't show me the post because it goes against the community standards. Okay. So I thought to myself, oh, look, there's a button there that says take action. Maybe if I press the button, I can appeal it, or maybe I can find out more information. Maybe I can do, no, the take action button doesn't work either. Like I clicked it several times and it did nothing. So for all of you who are running Facebook groups out there, thank you. Because I know this is only the small amount of problems I have, right? My problems on Atheist Comedy Burrito is nothing in comparison to people who have larger groups, or, so if you're running a larger group or a skeptical page, then my heart goes out to you. Good luck. That is confusing. Tobin Templeman. That is confusing. It's simply secular from the West Coast. I feel like I was during Lenny Bruce's end of the line, the comedian. He's like just reading off his divorce documents, basically, reading off legal documents. It's like, that's not funny, Lenny. Maybe you should be doing other material. And I felt like my beef with Facebook right there hovers close to that category of, I know you feel like you have to talk about it, Andy, but maybe people don't want to hear it. So I'm going to go on to the next subject. We'll go back to bread. I grew up eating only wheat bread, so I really love white bread now. Oh, yeah, Jeff. Well, that's the thing, right? It's interesting for people who grew up in maybe homes that were healthy, and then they go off to college or as young adults. It's like a discovery of every single food preservative that they never had, or all the sugar and fats. And it's like, oh, they just kind of binge off. I've seen it with my kids, to tell you the truth. I did a lot when I was, with my ex-wife. I did a lot of cooking in my home, so my kids weren't really exposed to a lot of processed foods. Now, there's definitely an aspect, at least with one of my kids, about binging out on really bad food now that they're a young adult. Just joined your group. Congratulations, Brain Bug. Thank you. Who knows how long the group's going to be up there for? Who knows? But I'm going to keep a tight rein on the group as much as humanly possible. It's my opinion that these large social media platforms, right, once they get to a certain size, the only thing they want is like cat videos, right? The only thing they want is basically vanilla, homogenized kind of content. So advertisers, is that a reason why the show has been rebranded as the Disappointed Cat Show, Andy? The Disappointed Cat Morning Show? Maybe that is. Maybe that's a way that I've been trying to work around the algorithm somewhat successfully too. I have to tell you that. I could talk. I'm doing Atheists Drinking Out Loud on Saturday, and sometimes we talk shop because, Neil the 604 Atheist is on, who's another YouTuber, of course, and we're going to have Seamus from the Free Thought Profit podcast. And so sometimes we talk shop about how to survive, how to fight the algorithm. So I might talk shop with them about my recent frustrations. When you hit that button, Facebook burns and atheists at the stake. Stop pushing the button, Andy. I will thank you, imaginary God. Thank you for the heads up. I will never be pressing the I'm sorry, you can't even see it here. The see details button. I will never press the see details button again. Thank you for setting me straight. I do appreciate that. Oh, you're doing a movie night on set. Well, I do my shtick. Brain Bug, on 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you're doing it after that, I'd be happy to pop in and maybe even promote your channel on my channel. Like I said, I'm streaming from 5 to 7. Atheists Drinking Out Loud, last Saturday of every month. Oh, my fictitious God. Let's just go on to funny things before we go into the news things, because we just finished the rant things. Not saying that the news things won't lead to more rant things, but we should just go to 7 Central Time. That's like 6 Eastern Time. Is that right? No, that's like 8 Eastern Time. So that's fine. That's good. Brand. Of course, Brain Bug, you'll have to remind me because I'm going to need remembering. Maybe. I don't know. Possibly. First meme. I thought this was funny. This spoke to my heart right here. When God calls you to be a prophet, but you thought he said, make a profit. And there's our friend, Joel Osteen. Oh, Joel, you are making profits, that's for sure. Mo money. That's what Joel's up to. Actually, I don't think Joel Osteen ever needed God to tell him to make a profit. Joel just had it. Joel just knew. That was his song. If he was a songbird, Joel Osteen's song would be Mo money. I don't care about problems. I just want more money. That's what it is. That's what his song would be. Wow. I'll send them your way. 8 Eastern. Yes, thank you, girlfriend. See, thank you. I need someone here to do like basic math for me. So yes, 8 Eastern on Saturday. We'll definitely promote your show, Brainbug. Second meme? Second meme's blasphemous meme too. Second blasphemous meme. Here we go. The Jesus Christ cosplay set. Oh no. Painful. That's what that looks like. I think I'd want to cosplay by proxy with that, my friends. I wouldn't want to be the one cosplaying, but maybe, maybe by proxy. And of course, the last one, which is pretty much the theme for the show today. And this one speaks to my heart too. A cup of get crap done. That's what that is. And that's what I'm doing right now. Though I'm not using a paper cup, of course. I'm using my regular everyday cup. But I'm getting stuff done and I'm drinking coffee. And meandering through the day. That's what I am doing. I am just muddling like I ever do. I just muddle. First story. First legitimate news story. What is it? As we all know, see, I had to take a deep breath. As we all know, Donald J. Trump is going to be speaking at CPAC this weekend. Basically, it's the Legion of Doom for all of you old school, cartoon fans out there. If CPAC, if this group of conservatives, Republicans, they're like the Legion of Doom. They're getting together in the swamp to do their meeting, and I guess Donald Trump is their like really, really stupid version of Lex Luthor without the money. This is how bad the GOP is. They have a band of supervillains, and their leader is some version of Lex Luthor that doesn't have any cash, isn't that smart, but he does have hair, kind of. All right. So Trump plots future and revenge, of course, from Florida. I mean, if you're going to plot revenge on the free peoples of the West, to use J.R.R. Tolkien's kind of language, you would want to do it from Florida, right here, right? Let's see what is going on with Trump. Donald Trump's influence on the elections is becoming clearer by the day. Just Tuesday, former Senator David Perdue announced that he will not launch a campaign, though he had very recently filed papers to do so. The decision follows close on the heels of Perdue's recent visit to Palm Beach, where he played golf with Trump, says a person familiar with Georgia Republican schedule. On Tuesday evening, according to the Washington Post, Trump held court with Ronna McDaniel, chairwoman of the Republican National Committee. The quest, say those familiar with the visits and calls to varying Republican politicos, is to feel out whether former president's head is on the party's future and whether he feels inclined to assist or oppose a particular person. So people have been traveling to Florida to kiss the ring of, I know, I'm sorry, that sends shivers, a little horror shiver up and down my spine too, to kiss the ring of Donald J. Trump and to see whether or not Donald J. Trump supports them in the candidacy. Apparently, he did not support Mr. Perdue's candidacy, and so now he is out. We've seen this for years now. Trumpian offers of encouragement that are more like the mafioso, nice little business you have here, threats, says Doug Hay. I'm going to pronounce his name, Hay, a longtime Republican strategist and consultant who formerly worked on senior communication roles for leadership on Capitol Hill. The problem for these candidates moving forward is that despite always hustling to score points, Donald Trump doesn't give points. He only takes them away one at a time. That's a great boss. That's a great boss to work for. You just see the performance reviews Donald J. Trump gives. I started you off from 0 on a scale of 1 to 100. And I'm just going to subtract points from there. Oh, but wait, there's more. We're going to see a lot more of this guy. We've been seeing a lot more of him too, haven't we, in the news? And we're going to see him a lot more. Let's see. Short-term goals from the Trump clan for Donald J. Trump includes watching his son Donald Trump Jr., the MAGA base's fervent mouthpiece, barnstorm his way across the country on behalf of Trump loyalists and supporters for midterms. So, it gets more idiotic, and in a way, some kind of dark Terry Gilliam movie, maybe Brazil. I don't know. But the idea that this guy, Donald Trump Jr., is the sharp end of the spear for MAGA country. Wow. That's maybe they couldn't. You're wondering what happened to Ivanka. Wasn't she the one that's supposed to be the cupbearer, the next in line in the Trump clan? Well, not so much now. At Mar-a-Lago, the family is closing ranks around the former president and his plans, but the leader of next-gen Trump politics is not Ivanka Trump, long thought to be the heiress to her father's domain, be it in real estate or politics. She's been the subject of effusive comments from Trump. In 2019, in the same breath, he touted Ivanka for both U.S. ambassador to the UN and head of the World Bank. And in an interview with The Atlantic, he said she would be very hard to beat if she were to run for president herself. But apparently, Ivanka Trump not only has zero interest in politics at the moment, 3 people close to her tell CNN she has also been surpassed in popularity with Trump's base by her older brother. Sorry, Ivanka, you have lady parts. And we all know lady parts aren't as popular with the Trump base as man parts, which, yeah, wrap your mind around that. So Ivanka is out. She says she is officially more interested in dealing with family, maybe waiting to see what kind of legal fallout is going to happen with Trump clan, with Clan Trump, which is reasonable. It's better to let Donald Trump Jr. go out there and do a lot of the work. And if she wants to jump back in, she knows she has daddy's heart. She knows that if she wanted to be the heir apparent, she could just snap her fingers and jump in, regardless of what her brother does. Let's see what chat's up to. Marmaduke Scarlet, good morning. I can't wait for them to turn Simply Secular. I can't wait to turn I can't wait for them to turn Mar-a-Lago into Trumpy land. It's a Trump world after all. That's right. Brainbug. Trump's funds are tied up in IOUs at the moment. You're right about that. Simply Secular. CPAC, Dum Dum Dum, the Star Wars Emperor walk-on song. That's right. Or the bad guys walk-on song. I guess that's the same for, Darth Vader. All right, so that's our first story. Donald J. Trump plotting revenge and scheming from Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Mitt Romney, you're going to get a severed horse head in your bed over there in Utah. Be careful. Hey, what's up, Marmaduke? All right, so what's the second story we're doing today? Oh, second story today is LGBTQ flags in Pennsylvania. Somehow this is an issue. But let's dig deeper into this story of crazy, because it is a story of crazy. This is from The Hill. All links are in the description. As you all know, Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor replaces banned weed LGBT rights flags with bigger ones. Lieutenant Governor in Pennsylvania, he's a big guy, and he is kicking butt and taking names, and he's not apologizing for anything that he does. Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, a Democratic Senate candidate, has replaced the pro-weed and LGBTQ rights flags hanging from his office balcony with bigger ones after lawmakers moved to ban the display. Why would you ban the LGBTQ flag? Oh, I know. Christianity, evangelicals, that's why. Since they passed a law that said I can't fly my old LGBT plus weed flags from my office balcony, I figured new, bigger, better ones would be legal, Fetterman said in a Twitter along with a new photo of the flags. So Mr. Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman Hilarious guy. If you've ever seen him on video, he is incredibly smart, and he looks like he could beat the crap out of anyone, to tell you the truth. He just looks very intimidating, but he seems like a really sweet guy. And these are the flags. He asked me, it's like, so he flew bigger weed flags and bigger LGBTQ flags? Yes, he actually did. And and of course he posted them on Twitter. So these are the bigger, better flags hanging out of his office. And John Fetterman's personal Twitter account, since they passed a law that said I can't fly my old flags from my office balcony, I figured new, bigger ones would be legal. And there he is. There he is. And you can see he's sporting a mask. He's got all the flags there. And so awesome, Mr. Fetterman. Awesome. Now, it made me wonder, as I'm sure that a bunch of you are wondering, Pennsylvania passed a law preventing those flags from being flown on government grounds? That seems weird. Fetterman was referring to a measure that the GOP-controlled Pennsylvania state legislature included in its budget legislation in November that banned the display of any flag other than the American flag, Pennsylvania state flag, or flag honoring missing American soldiers at the state capitol or its grounds. So Mr. Fetterman isn't having it. He thought, what a stupid law. And you know what? When it comes to stupid laws that make no sense, why not break the stupid laws? And here he is breaking the stupid laws. Fetterman had already replaced his flags last month after state employees took them down following the bill's passage. Earlier this month, Fetterman announced his intention to run for the Pennsylvania Senate seat that will be vacated by retiring Senator Pat Toomey, Republican. Last month, he opened a campaign account ahead of that bid, saying it raised more than $1 million in the first 2 weeks. And, you know, Fetterman, he is an example of what Democrats need to do. They can't be apologetic for what they stand for. They have to be out there at the forefront and being aggressive. Not saying that Joe Biden isn't being aggressive, not saying oligarchical Democrats aren't being aggressive, not saying moderate Democrats are digging their own graves for the party and for the rest of us. I'm not casting any aspersions whatsoever. Maybe I am. But John Fetterman, not ashamed for being who he is, not ashamed for supporting the people he represents or for the ideals he holds near and dear to his heart. Good job. Let's see what's going on with the chat. That's what government is for, passing pointless, bigoted. I'm going to throw bigoted in there too, Robert Dick Scarlett. I don't want to editorialize what you're saying, but I'm going to throw that in as just like topping. That's what government is for, passing pointless laws and bigoted laws too. Seeing you at the Facebook, Andy. How you doing? How you doing? Let's see. Oh, Blazing Wizard Pope says he's going to Scandinavian shame us, everybody. Preach, Blazing. In today's Scandinavian news, Denmark budgeted $24 billion to build artificial island for a windmill farm. That will supply Denmark with 9% of our current supply, bringing our wind power up to 68%. That's fascinating, Blazing. Now, from what I understand of Denmark geography, you guys have a ton of islands already, right? There's like a ton of islands. I'm surprised that you have to build an artificial island to build more windmills. I mean, it's great that the country is so dedicated, but from what I understand of Denmark geography, then you already have like a ton of islands there. Interesting. All right, so what have we covered so far? Andy's beef with Facebook in the Star Chamber, Kafka-esque, Byzantine. I can't even. I have so many adjectives about Facebook, but I'm not gonna go through them all. We've talked about my beef with Facebook. We talked about Trump. We talked about the LGBTQ flags being flown by the Lieutenant Governor Fetterman in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania passed a law saying that he couldn't do it, or that people can't fly those flags on Capitol grounds. I'm going into my personal Zen state right now, and this is the halftime show. Dr. Mordecai says, I'm not making any money on my Camgirl site. Oh, I'm sorry. Thoughts and prayers to you, Dr. Mordecai. All right, I'm going to center myself. Halftime show. We're going to do something funny in between the moments of rage and rants. And speaking of rage, I believe John Peterson is running a show on Rage's channel from 10:30 to 11:30. So even though Rage is taking time off, well-earned time off too, he's been streaming constantly for the last 3.5 years. John Peterson, his compatriot, his partner in crime over on the Rage's channel, is doing a show from 10:30 to 11:30. Check it out. Check it out. But let's do our halftime show right here and now.
I think you date women that are like your mom, right? That's just you're a New York crowd. You've probably been to therapy. I think you date women who are like, I do at least, you know. Because my mom was like a very overprotective mom. When I'd get sick, she would react like I had stage 4 cancer every time. And I'm looking for a woman that can match that intensity. It's almost like I'm auditioning her for the part of my mom. I'm like, I'm feeling sick. And she's like, it's just a head cold. And I'm like, thanks for coming in. We're going to take this in another direction.
I love Sam Morrill's comedy. The man is on point. It speaks to me. I hope it speaks to some of you too. He has a particular brand and a particular delivery style too that I really enjoy. And if you've done stand-up comedy or been on stage, then you can recognize that Sam has worked hard at developing just his posture, his stance, how he delivers the line. True professional there. I think the guy's hilarious myself. All right. Let's see. What do we got? Nuclear rockets. Well, you may know that we are actually there's a plan about sending people to Mars. And are nuclear rockets part of the future? I don't know, but I saw the story on NPR, and NPR doesn't really publish trash news. Though, as we've mentioned before, we should always be skeptical about science reporting because a lot of the times the science reporting isn't that good, right? You go to trusted sources and you think, well, the trusted source, their science journalism should be at least a little bit better than the garden variety, the trash sources. So here we go. Experts ponder nuclear rockets to send humans to Mars. Nuclear rockets to send humans to Mars. We're sending people to Mars. That's the plan. And are nuclear rockets in the mix? Are they a viable alternative? Now, for most of us who've grown up, watching Cosmos or consuming science literature, or just Star Trek fans, right? We know that the Holy Grail is to make really fast rockets, right? Or to get to one, I know this is obvious, right? Getting from one place in the universe to another place in the universe super fast. And the liquid-fueled rockets, first pioneered, by the way, in Massachusetts over at WPI, Worcester Polytech by Goddard? By Goddard, I believe that was his name. They can only, they are great, right? They've gotten us to the moon, satellites, Voyager, the Voyagers out there that are in interplanetary space, but we need something faster, something lighter, because of course liquid-fueled rockets have to carry, liquid fuel to transport. They are limited. Are nuclear rockets the answer? And here's a lovely little mock-up from the, all the links are in the description. Here's the mock-up of what a nuclear rocket could look like. Now I know what you're saying. Some of you are saying nukes in space. Is that really a good idea? And I'm skeptical about that too. I'm skeptical about nukes underwater. Of course, we have a fleet. There are fleets of nuclear submarines prowling around. The Russians were thinking about, and I don't know if they've done this or not. They were talking about putting floating nuclear power generators, and selling those off. For those of us who've grown up in the world post Chernobyl, we have natural skepticism, I think, about nuclear power in general. I'm gonna check the chat. Yes, Blazing, we did. We did get our nuclear tech from, well, we got our rocket technology from the German scientists in the 1940s. However, it was pioneered here in Massachusetts. If you go to the National Space Museum, the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., you will see prominently, along with a V2 rocket, right? I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but we are talking about rockets. There'll be a mock-up of course, the V2 missile from World War II, but there is also a replica. It might be an original of Goddard's rocket from Worcester Polytech, the first liquid-propelled rocket ever sent up into the air. And you can see it. You can see a model of it over at the National Air and Space Museum. And this is true, Blazing, and we're going to get into that. It's been nuclear rockets are not a new idea. The conclusion has always been that releasing radioactive trails across space would be a bad idea. Indeed. All right, let's get to the story and let's see what this new paper basically states. When NASA's Perseverance rover touched down on the Martian surface last week, humans cheered from the confines of planet Earth. But if the space agency or others hope to leave and send astronauts to Mars, experts say, and I would say, yeah, okay, let's continue and say that they need to consider a technology that was studied decades ago, but never fully developed: nuclear-powered rockets. See, now, I've been blogging for a long time. In fact, my blog right now is blowing up, laughing in disbelief. On Pathos, I have a variety that I have a couple of different little funny bagatelles, some funny posts that have actually gone viral, and I'm quite pleased with that too, by the way. But through my years of blogging, what I would write is that I would write down that some experts say they need to consider a technology, because to say that experts say, you just are communicating that all experts are saying that, and all experts are not saying that you need to consider nuclear rockets, right? So that's a little sloppy writing right there. That's a little sloppy writing for those of you who read or write online, who read scientific articles online or science journalism or write online yourselves. You can tell there's something that needs to be tweaked in that sentence. Okay, I'm going to put in some experts say they need to consider a technology that was studied decades ago but never fully developed: nuclear-powered rockets. Quote, if we decide to send humans to Mars, nuclear propulsion is likely to be central to that journey, says Roger Myers, an independent aerospace consultant and co-chair of a panel convened by the National speaking in tongues, by the National Academies to study nuclear propulsion. A new report from Myers and his colleagues suggests that NASA should begin studying nuclear propulsion now, if it hopes to use it in a Mars mission by 2039. Although NASA does spend some money studying the technology, Myers says funding is, quote, going to have to be ramped up significantly if we're going to hit 2039. The idea of using nuclear reactors for propulsion dates back to the earliest days of the U.S. space program. In the 50s and 60s, rock scientists with what was then called the Atomic Energy Commission developed a series of nuclear rockets. The program was conducted in collaboration for NASA and developed working prototypes, but it was canceled in the early 70s after it became clear that missions for which it was needed to travel to Mars and the Moon were unlikely to go forward. So yes, it was something that was developed or was being developed and then just lost its funding. Nuclear power, by contrast. Okay, so the problems with liquid-fueled rockets, and we've already touched on this. You got to carry a lot of liquid fuel to get them up there and to get them to where they need to go. So that's somewhat prohibitive. It turns out that, and of course you do gravity slingshots, right? For those of you who are acquainted with how, and most of you in the chat are far smarter than I am, and you know this, right? To make satellites, not satellite, but space probes go faster, you use gravitational slingshots. Like for an example, you might have a probe that circles Jupiter a few times and kind of use its gravity to help propel it faster into a new direction out into deeper space. Supposedly, if you use these nuclear generators, these nuclear rockets you would be able to do the entire trip much faster to Mars and back. And also, people wouldn't have to stay as long on Mars. That's what the paper suggests. Nuclear power, by contrast, could allow the mission to be completed with less fuel and in a shorter time. Because an extra thrust provided by nuclear rocket motors, astronauts would be able to take a shortcut back to Earth by spiraling around the Sun and Venus. The mission would also mean a shorter first stay on Mars of only about a month, as opposed to 500 days. That is significantly lower amount. Meyer said his colleagues are working on a version of a nuclear rocket previously tested by the U.S. and involves shooting hydrogen gas to the core of a specially designed nuclear reactor. The hydrogen would cause the reactor to heat up, which in turn would make the hydrogen expand out of the nozzle, causing thrust. This is Patel, someone who works with Myers, says the design looks promising, the chemistry looks good, the nuclear physics looks good, the manufacturing seems to be going in the right direction. He says, now we would assume that the amount of hydrogen you need in that rocket would be less than you would need in a liquid-fueled rocket, right? That's kind of guessing if it's right. There's a second model. It's a second kind of nuclear rocket that would use a nuclear reactor in a more conventional way. In this version, the reactor would generate electricity that would then be used to power a different rocket motor, such as a ion thruster, which is sort of used in some satellites. Check out the chat right now. Well, you're watching Stargate after this. Right. Blazing. I see what you're doing there. Brain bug. When has an explosion ever been ordered by something? It's an internet. Oh, Dr. Mordecai. I can talk about that. Mordecai. I can talk about that, but I can't. But maybe I will at some point. Maybe I'll talk about it on Saturday. I think if you talk, and this is completely digressing off this rocket thing, but if you talk to any comedian, there's always someone thinking, I've had stuff stolen. I've had creative work stolen before, but it wasn't worth for me. It wasn't worth the lawyer fees for me to like actually follow up on it. But yeah. We're gonna go back to rockets because I don't want the show to Andy's beef for like an hour. There are other shows. There are other stations like that. There are other channels like that. You can go for beef. I try to avoid that. All right, the last bit of this nuke rocket story. The National Academy has found each design had significant challenges that would need to be overcome before they were ready for humans. For the non-nuclear rocket, using hydrogen materials would have to be developed that would tolerate the enormous temperatures inside the reactor core. The rocket would also need an advanced hydrogen storage so its fuel wouldn't leak. The nuclear electric system, by contrast, would need giant radiator panels protruding from the spaceship to help deal with the heat generated by the reactor. It would also require more research to figure out how to integrate the reactor with different kinds of thrusters and power systems. So yeah, 2039 isn't that far away, 18 years, right? Which will go fairly quickly. That seems to be pretty large hurdles for rockets. Now, for nuclear power rockets, is it possible? Certainly. You put enough money into NASA, into these systems, into development, then maybe they could find something that could work. But does the United States of America have the political will? And this is what it always boils down to. This is one of the themes of this show. Does the USA have the political will to actually put money into something that aren't tax cuts for the rich, right? I mean, if Biden is having trouble getting a COVID relief bill through the House and through the Senate, and that's a COVID relief bill, how difficult is to get appropriate funding for new engine technologies, right? And it's not too hard to believe that a new engine is going to be developed from the private sector or from another country first. Dark, sad stories. I've not had Mama Atheist on Best Advice ever. I've not. Though it would be a good idea. So that's our stories. Yeah, I said something about that on Facebook. Yeah, like I said, maybe when I'm trash drunk on Saturday, I'll go into more beef about that. So what are we doing? We covered LGBTQ flags being illegally flown in Pennsylvania. We covered Trump's plan for revenge Trump's plan for revenge in the mid-year elections. And of course, he's planning to run in 2024 too. And of course, nukes in space. Well, nuclear engines in space, which is far more, to tell you the truth, I know there's someone on Facebook who's been on my channel before, Dr. Ben, who has done considerable work with nuclear research. And I wonder if I should have him on the channel just to talk about nuclear rocket engines, just to talk about it for a few minutes, maybe throwing that in as a segment into this show. That would be interesting. I think that would be interesting. Hot shell Baptists. We're nothing but trouble there. Let's do for something funny. Let's do something funny, everyone, right? It's towards the end of the show. Before we put a bow on it, let's do something funny. Oh, this speaks a truth of many men, whether young or old.
I only wore the shirt a couple hours. Guess I'll put it in the sort of clean pile.
I think the hidden shame for many of us is the sort of clean pile. It's one of those secrets. It's one of those things that if we were going to do a randomized questionnaire of girlfriends and wives, then many of them would report that their male romantic partners do have a sort of clean pile, regardless of age. Just says, yes, indeed, the sort of clean pile. Oh, Simply Secular. Have I told you? Have I told you that I've been watching The Muppet Show? I am binging all 5 seasons of the only thing I know is that Disney Plus has the first season of The Muppet Show. They might have the other 4 seasons too, but I've been binging through the first year, the first season. I believe there's 120 episodes in total of The Muppet Show. And yeah, I've been just blowing through that. A couple of, they're only like 22-minute episodes, 23 episodes. But if you have Disney Plus, they got a few minutes, then The Muppet Show is definitely worth your time. All right. The hard shell doesn't let information in. No, indeed. All right, so what am I doing later on today? I am going to be doing the Jenga at 3 p.m. And we had a great conversation yesterday about the Hanseatic League, right? Actually, how does Switzerland work, the canton system? A bunch of hard, deep drilling, geeky stuff. And it was a lot of fun, to tell you the truth. It was a lot of fun doing Jenga, because even though I am doing Jenga, what we're really doing is forming a community and talking about interesting topics, right? That we find, and me asking questions, because I'm intellectually curious about your lives. It turns out Phil Lister, and I'm not telling tales out of school. This is what he mentioned in the chat yesterday at the 3 o'clock show, is that he's boating around the Baltic Ocean. So that just was pretty interesting. We asked about that and talked about that for a while. So 3 o'clock show, playing Jenga. And we're doing the whole thing tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 10-ish, maybe a little bit earlier than that. Depends on how many stories I find interesting. If you have any stories that you want me to cover, you can always send me links to me. You can send links to me via the email account found in the About section on the YouTube page, right? So you want me to cover something, just send me a link. That's fine. Mama, dude, that's pretty classic. Simply Secular there. Sesame Street stuff. I saw a video of that yesterday, but that was hilarious. So yeah, 3 o'clock today, Jenga, open conversation for all intents and purposes. 9 a.m. tomorrow, the show, Atheist Drinking Out Loud, 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Oh, I should tell you that I was invited to go on the Free Thought Prophet show on Sunday night. I believe it's Sunday night at 8 p.m. We're going to talk about the Atheist Alliance International fiasco and the International Atheist Alliance beef. where supposedly one party stole the other party's email lists. Supposedly, possibly, maybe. But we're going to be talking about atheist beef basically on that show, not on my channel, on the Free Thought Profit channel. So that's what we're doing. 9 a.m. Jesus time. Well, I can just, Jesus time? Is that Jesus time over here? Is that what we're talking about? All right, everyone. I'm rambling. Thanks for showing up. I had a lot of fun today, as always. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. And hopefully I'll see you later on today, if not tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Be strong. Bye. Oh, epic pose? Epic pose. The epic pose, looking at my iPad, checking out stuff. That's what I'm going to be doing for my epic pose. Up here, right? Up here. Up here? Up